Kính thưa các sư cô cũng như là quý thiền sư có mặt ở nơi đây. Giờ này ngài thiền sư đã quan tâm chuyên pháp tọa. Kính mời tất cả chúng ta cùng nhau đảnh lễ ngài 3 lễ. Mời quý thiền sư chúng ta còn cái lời nhắn để mình họ tham gia vào các quan hệ với ngài thiền sư. Now, would you like to give a eulogy and practice to all the yogis here? Xin mời mọi người cùng đọc theo ạ. Mayam Pante, Visaranena Saha, Athanga Samanagata, Upo Sattha Sila, Dhammam Yajama, Anugraham Katva, Silang Netha, Me Bhante, Dutiyampi, Mayam Bhante, Tisaranena Saha, Athanga Samanagata, Upo Sattha Silang, Dhammam Yajama, Anugraham Katva, Silang Netha, Me Bhante, Tatiyampi, Mayam Bhante, Tisaranena Saha, Athanga Samanagata, Upo Sattha Silang, Dhammam Yajama, Anugraham Katva, Silang Netha, Me Bhante.
Yamaham vadami tang vaditha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
samadhiyami.
Panatipatam Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinādana Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinādana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Sraviraya Majjapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Vikala Bhojana Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Vikala Bhojana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. Nacha Gita Wadita
Visukadasana
Visukadasana Malaganda Vilevana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatthana
Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Uccasayana
Uccasayana
Mahasayana
Mahasayana
Veramani Sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Tisaranena sahattanga samanagatam pusatasilang dhammam sadhakam surakhitam katva appamadena sampadita.
Amapante.
Dear Bhante, now is time for the Dharma talk. With compassion, we earn a Dharma sharing.
Today is the 4th of January 2026. Yesterday I spoke about patience. Then after I spoke about the sati mindfulness. And I did speak about the characteristics, function of the mindfulness. Today we are going to talk about the manifestation of the mindfulness. As mindfulness grows stronger, meditators rarely miss the object. In addition, the mind always faces toward the meditation object. This means the mind becomes naturally inclined, oriented, and turned toward whatever object is being observed, whether it is the rising and falling of the abdomen, a bodily sensation, a thought, or a feeling. Just as a sunflower turns toward the sun, or a compass needle points north, a mind imbued with strong mindfulness continually turns toward the object without needing to be forced or reminded. It no longer wanders aimlessly. It doesn't need to be dragged back over and over. Instead, it begins to rest naturally on the object, returning to it again and again with interest and steadiness. Just like a boomerang, you might have seen boomerang. Just like a boomerang which returns to the hand that threw it, the mind, trained in mindfulness, keeps returning to the object, even if it briefly moves away. It comes back automatically, almost by habit, because its orientation has been firmly set. Facing toward the meditative object is the first manifestation of mindfulness, and this is also a sign of maturity in the practice, when the mind not only stays with the object but wants to stay with it as if it has found a home, as if it has found a home house. How do we train the mind to become like this? By acting like a spider. A spider rests quietly at the center of its web. Whenever an insect or prey gets caught anywhere on the web, the spider swiftly rushes out, deals with it, and returns to the center. In the same way, we train the mind to stay centered on the primary object, the rising and falling of the abdomen, or the movement of the feet. Whenever a thought, sound, or sensation becomes obvious, somewhere in the wave of experience, the mind should absorb it quickly and clearly, and then swiftly return to the center, back to the primary meditation object, after noting the distraction. In this way, we train our mind not to become lost or distracted, but to remain steadily focused on the meditative object. The best thing of mindfulness is that it protects the mind from being attacked by defilements. When mindfulness is present, mental defilements have no opportunity to enter the stream of consciousness. Yogis might have experienced by their own direct experience when mindfulness is present. At that time, their mind is free from defilements. At that moment, no anger, no greed, no jealous mind, no envious mind, no proud, no conceit. Mind is free from those impurities. Mindfulness is likened to a doorkeeper because it guards the six sense doors. Just as a doorkeeper does not admit harmful or destructive people, but allows in only those who are good and beneficial, mindfulness permits only wholesome qualities to enter the mind while keeping unwholesome ones out. That means when mindfulness is present, protection is there. We call it in Pali Arakha. A doorkeeper does not merely stand at the door and observe who comes and goes. A skilled doorkeeper also blocks and defends. In the same way, mindfulness does not just passively notice what is arising through the sixth sense doors, it also blocks unwholesome influences such as greed, hatred, restlessness, or delusion from entering and taking root in the mind, and it defends the inner peace, clarity, and wisdom that we are cultivating through our practice. This blocking and defending is known as avarana in Pali. Just as a well-trained guard recognizes threats before they cause harm, mindfulness is proactive, catching the early signs of defilements and preventing them from influencing thoughts, speech, or actions. Without mindfulness, the doors are wide open. The mind is left vulnerable, easily overwhelmed by sense objects and reactive patterns. But with mindfulness, guarding, blocking, and defending, we keep our mind safe and steady. When guarding, blocking, and defending, mindfulness is present, meditators experience a sense of safety. A sense of safety, we call it in Pali gutti. Gutti, just as a house with locked doors and a trustworthy guard gives it its residents a sense of security. A mind guarded by mindfulness gives the meditator a deep sense of inner safety, even when the world outside is uncertain and chaotic. I just mentioned the mindfulness protects, blocks, defends, and gives a sense of safety. So, the stronger the mindfulness, the stronger the protection. For this reason, you should try your best to strengthen mindfulness by observing continuously, without gaps, without forgetfulness. The more consistent and focused your mindfulness becomes, the more powerfully it protects the mind from defilements and distractions. Again, the stronger the mindfulness, the stronger the block, and the stronger the defense. And the stronger the protection, block, and defense, the greater the safety of the mind. Just as a well-guarded house is free from thieves or even the danger of thieves, the well-guarded mind is free from defilements, because mindfulness is standing at the door like a strong guard. Defilements such as greed, anger, and delusion are not admitted at all. If they arise, they are seen clearly and dispelled instantly. There is no room for defilements to settle, grow, or take over. This is freedom. This is freedom, this is deliverance. In Pali, we call this mutti. Mutti, liberation from mental defilements. Even if temporary, each moment the mind is free from defilements, is mutti, a taste of freedom that the noble ones live in continually. Again, when the mind is free from defilements, it becomes calm. Why? Because defilements are exactly what disturb the peace of the mind. Peace of the mind. They are the mental pollutants that stir up emotional storms and destroy stillness. Think of how you feel when you are angry. The heart races, the breath becomes heavy, the mind spins with thoughts of blame or revenge. That's not a calm mind. But when anger is observed mindfully and allowed to fade, the body relaxes, the breath slows, and the mind becomes peaceful again. A flame on a candle is calm when there is no wind. Defilements are like wind. They shake the flame, make it flicker, sometimes blow it out. When there is no wind, the flame stands still and steady. Similarly, when the mind is free from defilements, it rests calmly, undisturbed. So, the presence of mindfulness brings calm and clarity. The stronger mindfulness, the stronger the calm. And the more continuous the mindfulness, the deeper the peace. This calm and peacefulness is called as Santi in Pali. This means that every single moment of true mindfulness contains calmness and peace. That moment could be while you are observing the rising and the falling of the abdomen, or while noting mental objects such as thoughts, emotions, or intentions, or while being aware of bodily sensations like pain, tension, warmth, or while observing the steps of your feet during walking meditation, or even while mindfully performing daily activities, washing, eating, cleaning, or reaching for an object. Whenever mindfulness is truly present, calmness and peace can be found right there in that moment. It's like peace and calm in every breath. Peace and calm in every breath. Peace and calm in every step. Peace and calm in every movement. In other words, peace and calm in each second, each minute, and each hour, as long as mindfulness remains unbroken. You don't need to wait for some future attainment. Even now, in this moment, with mindfulness, the heart can touch peace. The moment of freedom from defilements not only brings peace and calm, but also gives rise to joy and mental comfort. Imagine sitting in a noisy, chaotic room full of shouting and distractions. Suddenly, all the noise stops. In that silence, you don't just feel calm, you feel relief, joy, and comfort. That's what the mind feels when defilements fall silent. And just as a burden lifted from the shoulders bring physical comfort, the removal of defilement brings mental comfort. So these are the immediate benefits we can enjoy when true mindfulness is present. Protection, arankha, blocking, defending avarana, a sense of safety, buddhi, a taste of freedom, mutti, deep calm, inner peace, santi, joy, and mental comfort, piti, sukha, all arising together in the same moment, whether consciously or unconsciously. But in contrast, if you fail to develop true mindfulness, you miss out all of these benefits. If you lose mindfulness even for a single moment, you lose these benefits for the moment. If you lose it for a second, you miss out for a second. If you are unmindful for one full minute, then you may lose the 60 times. In one moment, there are 60 seconds, so you may miss out the 60 times of all these benefits. And if the mind is unguarded for 5 minutes, that's 300 the opportunities. For an entire hour, it could mean 3,600 missed moments, 3,600 chances lost to protect, calm, and free the mind. This is why mindfulness must be developed continuously, moment by moment, without delay, without carelessness. Mindfulness does not just observe the object deeply. You have to understand this. Mindfulness does not just observe the object deeply with penetration, but also it guards, it protects, it frees the mind, allowing us to experience these wholesome qualities right here and now, not only in the distant future. Now, you may still wonder, how can we develop that mindfulness in order to enjoy these benefits? The text mentions that the first one should develop a firm and steadfast perception in order to develop mindfulness. Again, then what then is perception? Perception is the mental state that recognizes and records objects. It recognizes and records the object as it is, rising as rising, falling as falling, thinking as thinking, sensation as sensation, movements as movements, lifting as lifting, moving as moving, dropping as dropping, and so on. As you continue recognizing and recording repeatedly, perception becomes stronger, laying the foundation for the development of the mindfulness. That is why meditators should aim to recognize and record every moment of meditation object with precision, and most importantly, without discrimination. One should not judge meditation object as good or bad, pleasing or unpleasing, wholesome or unwholesome. Just as a video or audio recorder captures whatever is present without bias or commentary, the meditator's task is simply to observe and register the reality of present moment. Just like a recorder, your responsibility is not to approve or reject, but simply to recognize. Simply to recognize and record the obvious object as it arises, whether it is the rising and falling of the abdomen, a thought, a sound, a sensation, or a feeling. This non-reactive observation is the heart of developing true mindfulness. That's why if you want to develop mindfulness in the rising and falling of the abdomen, keep observing, recognizing, and recording. If you want to develop mindfulness in mental objects such as thought, memory, and planning, thinking, keep observing, recognizing, and recording. If you want to develop mindfulness in sensations like pain, aching, numbness, keep observing, recognizing, and recording. If you want to develop mindfulness during walking, keep observing, recognizing, and recording. If you want to develop mindfulness during daily activities, keep observing, recognizing, and recording. Once mindfulness has arisen through form perception, that mindfulness itself becomes the cause for another moment of mindfulness to arise. Mindfulness begins with form perception and then sustains itself through its own momentum. This can be compared to the process of acquiring education. The lessons learned in the lower grades become the foundation for learning the lessons in the higher grades. In other words, the preceding moment of mindfulness becomes the proximate cause for the rising of the succeeding moment of mindfulness. Just as one step supports the next in walking, one moment of mindfulness supports the next in meditation. The mindfulness you developed yesterday is the cause for the mindfulness you develop today. The mindfulness you develop today is the cause for the mindfulness you will develop tomorrow, then the day after tomorrow. Or the mindfulness developed in the morning is the cause to develop mindfulness in the afternoon. The mindfulness developed in the afternoon is the cause to develop mindfulness in the evening. Or the mindfulness you develop in last hour is the cause to develop mindfulness this hour. If I were to speak in detail, the mindfulness you develop in rising is the cause to develop mindfulness in falling. Again, the first rising, the first mindfulness developed in the rising and falling is the cause to develop mindfulness and second rising and falling and so on. In this way, every preceding mindfulness is the proximate or the nearest cause for the succeeding mindfulness to develop. Second mindfulness gets support from the first third mindfulness, the third mindfulness gets support from the second. The fourth mindfulness gets support from the third. In this way, every preceding mindfulness supports the succeeding mindfulness. That's why yesterday I talked about, after Dhamma talk, I talk about the unbroken mindfulness, about the continuous mindfulness, requirement of the continuous mindfulness. If your mindfulness is continuous, every succeeding mindfulness gets support from the preceding mindfulness, and if there is support from preceding mindfulness and they are continuous, then the momentum builds up. Because to develop concentration, the momentum must be built up. The momentum of mindfulness must be built up. Then concentration develops by itself. May you all be able to observe every presently arising object. May you all be able to observe, recognize, and record every presently arising object by observing, recognizing, recording. May you be able to develop mindfulness through development of the mindfulness. May you be able to protect your mind. May you be able to block and defend the defilements, and may you be able to gain a sense of safety, peace, freedom, peace, calm, joy, mental comfort, and by development of the momentum of mindfulness, may you be able to develop concentration. Tomorrow we will talk about concentration.
Để thiết lập và phát triển lực lượng trong khi nghe thầy giảng ạ.
Differently, would you please guide the yogi the way to train and develop mindfulness while listening to the Dhamma talk or listening in general?
While listening to the Dhamma talk, yes, of course, we can listen mindfully when we become skilled, observing the object. But at the beginning, we should give priority listening to the Dhamma talk rather than being mindful or practicing meditation, because the listening to the Dhamma talk is gaining the instruction and guidance, because without guidance, without instruction, we can't practice meditation, we can't walk on the path of liberation. Listening the Dhamma talk is not just about achieving guidance or instruction, it is also about the motivation, gaining motivation, inspiration, developing sense of urgency, so many things. So that's why if you are not skilled how to be mindful during the Dhamma talk, should give priority, should listen carefully. We should give priority listening carefully. But of course, you may try to be mindful while listening to the Dhamma talk as well. Abdomen. Aim at abdomen to observe the rising and falling. Similarly, you simply need to aim your mind at the sound and the voice to be mindful while listening to the Dhamma talk.
Cũng tương tự như khi mà chúng ta hướng cái tâm của mình đến vùng bụng để mà quan sát cái phòng xẹp, thì ở đây cũng tương tự như vậy. Cô chỉ đơn giản là cô hướng cái tâm mình đến cái âm thanh, đến cái giọng nói đang phát ra để mà lắng nghe nó được chăm chú hơn trong lúc mà mình nghe pháp thoại.
I have seen some meditators, what they do is first they observe the abdomen rising and falling. They, before starting the Dhamma talk, they observe the rising and falling. And when the Dhamma talk starts, they aim at the voice. Or even they say that it's become easier to target their mind toward the voice or the sound of the Dhamma talk. Like even when you are doing sitting meditation, you hear the sound automatically and you know as hearing. Similarly, while you are doing sitting meditation before the Dhamma talk starts, then when the Dhamma talk starts, you start to hear the voice and you just need to aim at the voice.
In case a yogi has already developed a momentum of mindfulness, so and they don't try to maintain mindfulness at all, so the momentum of mindfulness will be decay and disappear, or it just automatically maintain for a long time without any effort.
Of course, if you don't continue your practice, the mindfulness, not only mindfulness, the concentration that you have developed automatically slacken. If you have developed strong one, it weakens. If you have developed many, a lot, then it lessens if you don't continue your practice. Who wants to know how quickly it drops or slackens? It depends on you. If you completely neglect, if you don't practice at all, then definitely it slackens more rapidly. If you still practice somehow, then yes, it slackens slowly. So it depends on you how quickly it slackens or drops or becomes degraded. For example, let's say you are unhealthy right now. You see the doctor and doctor prescribe you to take medicine and to avoid the foods that should not be taken, and recommend you the foods should be taken. After listening the prescription, the instruction, guidance of the doctor, let's say you follow that. And after some while, your health become quite good, your immune system becomes quite strong, you become healthy. Now, to become unhealthy again, it depends on how you maintain your health by taking the food which is suitable for your body and which is not suitable for your body. If you take unsuitable foods a lot and completely avoid the suitable foods, then in no time your body become unhealthy. Now, if you take like a few healthy and few unhealthy, then yes, slowly your body, the healthy body seconds.
Devante, what's the difference between the mind and mindfulness? Because before she established the continuous mindfulness in walking, she usually forget to notice. And for example, before that, when she get up in the morning, she totally forgot what leg put down on the floor first, right or left leg. But now by applying the technique in practice, and now when she get up in the morning, she remember the left leg or the right leg put down on the floor. So by maintaining or try to keep the mindfulness continuous, the mind can recognize and record. So where the recording remain, where the record happen in the mind or in the consciousness, and what kind of thing, what kind of recording make us to remember, not forgetful to notice the object.
Okay, well, to understand about the mind, mindfulness, about recording, recognizing, you have to understand about the mentality. So we call it nama in Pali, and nama consists mind and mental factor. Mind, also known as consciousness, mental factors are different. So mind is one mentality, the mental factors are the another mentality, two mentalities, and mind and the mental factors, they arise together. You have to understand this. They arise together, they disappear together, they take the same object, they arise on the same base. They not at all wet. Not at all. Consciousness, mind, the function, the nature of the mind or the consciousness is to take the object, that's all. Just taking, perceiving the object. So that is the mere function, or that is its nature. It takes the object, that's all. And mental factors defines the mind. Mind is, consciousness is like a water. Mental factors are like colors. So when you put colors into the water, then that colors defines the water. If you put red color into the water, that water is called as red water. If you put blue, then it becomes blue water. If you put black, then it becomes black water. Similarly, when you put greed is not the mind, it is the mental factor. When you put greed into the mind, then it becomes greedy mind. If you put anger is also a mental factor, then it becomes angry mind. If you put mindfulness is also a mental factor. So if you put mindfulness, then it becomes mindful mind or mindful consciousness. So in this way, mental factors defines the mind. So there are altogether 52 mental factors. 52 mental factors, and each mental factor has its own nature, own function, own manifestation, own proximate cause. And like greed is individual nature, personal nature is gluing or attaching. Other mental factors do not have this nature, but anger does not have the nature of attaching or gluing something. So only greed has that nature. Other 51 mental factors do not have this nature. Similarly, anger has the nature of frosty. It's portional. You have heart like a Vedana, it feels. So its function is feeling like a fassa and a contact. And then its function is impingement. It connects, it contacts. So in this way, every mental factors has its own nature, its own function. So now the sanya, perception, its function is to recognize and record. So recognition, recording are known by the sanya perception.
Cái đó thì càng rõ thì sáng được. Cái lưu trữ rất quan trọng, rất là tạo nghiệp.
But then actually she understood what you explained, but still want to get more clear about the mind and about the recording of the mind and the mindfulness. For example, why it takes chewing, and why nothing chewing, she realized the flavor of salty, of spicy or sharp, and then the anger arises. And at that time, whether the anger is being recorded by the mind or by the mindfulness. And if she let the anger just arise continuously one after another moment, so at that time the Vyapada Vitakka will arise. And Vyapada Vitakka is, or the angry mind, is kind of mind, right? And if she don't have the mindfulness, so the anger might just continue. So still now she don't know what kind of recording.
Okay, so another thing that you should understand is it's not like a one consciousness, one mental factor. It is not like that. The relevant mental factors arise. Some consciousness has like a 7 mental factors, minimum 7, maximum 35 mental factors. Even it is not like that all 52 mental factors arise with all consciousness. It is not like that. The relevant mental factors arise with the relevant consciousness. And yesterday I mentioned the perception has its function is recording, recognizing. And mindfulness is different. Yesterday I mentioned the nature of the mindfulness is non-wobbling, non-superficiality, and the function of the mindfulness is non-forgetfulness. So character is different, function is different. While eating, let's say you are eating an apple. When you bite, you are observing, you are noting as biting or chewing. When your mind recognizes, oh, this is apple. So it is the recognition of the perception. But if your mind is penetrating into the object that is obvious at that moment, it could be chewing action, it could be the sensation of the flavor, experience of the flavor, any object. If mind is penetrating into that object, then that is the mindfulness. Then, right after, as you mentioned, greed or anger arise, that is another moment, not the same moment. Within a second, millions and the billions of the mind arising and passing away together. The moment when mind arises together with mindfulness, at that time, the mind with anger cannot arise, because mind with mindfulness and mind with anger are completely different and opposite. Mind with mindfulness is wholesome mind. Mind with anger is unwholesome mind. Wholesome, unwholesome mind cannot arise together, or mindfulness and anger themselves cannot arise together. They arise quite quickly, rapidly. That's why seem to be arising at the same time. In fact, they are not arising at the same time, one after another. Even when you observe rising and falling, observing mind, consciousness is different to leveling mind. And leveling mind is different from knowing mind, noting mind. You might think they are same. Even these consciousnesses are different. Since they arise and pass away so quickly, seem to be Himalaya. Namo Patibatiya Bodham Ujjayini
Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Adipattiya Dhammam Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Adipattiya